Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have an Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber Pearl. We have a Benu Talisman, and this is the Tiger's Eye. We have a Benu, this is a Jubilee exclusive, Euphoria Earl Grey Tea. We have a Visconti Blue Ripple, a Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. We have a Visconti Daedalus. We have a Visconti Last Templar Jacques de Molay. We have an Onoto, and this is the Queen's Jubilee in overlay. We have an Onoto, and this is the Magna Classic, and this is in the Great Roof Metallic Edition. And then we have another Onoto, and this is the David Copperfield. So I think let's go through these in a little bit more detail. So this is the Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber Pearl. You can see there Onoto on the cap finial. The distinctive Onoto clip, which I do like a lot. These clips are very functional, although I do say that I don't normally use clips on pens, but I like the design of these. I also like the design of the Magna Classic, the modern Magna Classic that Onoto have made. I beautifully love the material, which is an amber pearl, and I love that they do this chasing on some of the models, and it just makes for a really, really good pattern. It is a beautiful pen. It does say Onoto the pen, made in England. I know not everybody likes that. And I know not everybody likes a little blank space here where you can engrave the pen with your name if you wanted to, or company. But this is a beautiful pen. It's a lightweight pen as well. It's a cartridge converter. It has a number 7 size 18 karat gold medium nib. You can post the caps on these. They're not back weighted. They post really well. The sections though do taper down, and then you have a little bit of a step there just to try and stop your fingers going onto the nib and feed. But that's a nice pen, and I have that one inked up this week. The next pen I have inked up is the Benu, and this is a Talisman, and this is a Tiger's Eye. I picked this one up towards the end of, I think it was in December last year. It's a beautiful pen. It is faceted, that you can see here, those facets there on the cap and also on the body as well. So you can see my light from the studio lights reflecting off of that. So it is a very textured pen. So if you do like texture to your pen, then that's good. It is smaller than the Euphoria model. It's a little bit thinner section and body, but it does have a number 6 size Schmidt nib, and this one is a broad nib. So I have that in a broad nib there. It is a cartridge converter. You can post the caps quite nicely, and that will post. So I have this one inked up with me as well, but you can see there's a lot of glitter in this. I think it's a beautiful pen. I really want to actually ink it up with a golden coloured ink with gold glitter. I do have some shimmer golden coloured ink. I have I'm just trying to think. I've got some Diamond Shimmertastic inks. I think Golden Sands is one of them. I think the I want to say Cocoa Shimmer, or I've got another one as well. There's also, I want to say, a Vinta ink that I've got, and I think it's Whiskey Gold. That would actually go really nice in that pen. So maybe I might need to think about at some point inking that up with Vinta Whiskey Gold, because it's a broad nib. It's going to cope with a shimmer quite well. The next pen I have inked up is the Benu Jubilee exclusive, and this is the Euphoria, and it's the Earl Grey Tea. I like Earl Grey Tea, I like Lady Grey Tea. This has got real tea leaves and lavender infused into that resin, along with the gold foil there as well. It really is a beautiful pen. I love the theme. I love the idea. And honestly, the only thing that Benu could do to improve on this, well, actually, there's two things. The first thing is to make it to I know it's a retailer exclusive with Goulet at the moment, but I think this would sell extremely well if they turned it into a regular edition pen. And then the second thing is include some Earl Grey tea bags with it, Benu. Come on, like that would make it even better. But hey, look, it's not improving the pen; it's improving maybe the packaging or what's with the pen. Now you do get a number 6 size Schmidt nib. I've got this in a broad nib. It's a cartridge converter pen. I can post the cap on this. I'm still thinking on whether or not I should or shouldn't buy a second one of these. I like it a lot. I've got some medium nibs in other Benu Euphorias. I've got some fine nibs. I would like this in a medium nib. I could swap the nibs over. That's not an issue. But I think ultimately, I keep thinking, should I get a second one of these? Ink one up with Diamine Earl Grey, which is a grey coloured, and this one, which is Dominant Industry Earl Grey, which is more of an orangey coloured ink. The thing that stops me from doing that is that I'm not going to be able to tell the difference between the pens until I either start writing with it or I put a sticker on the pen. So, and I probably could. I could probably put like a little sticker on the cap finial there, and but I probably wouldn't even need to do that. I could just have a look at the nib and go, oh, that's the medium, that's the grey ink version. Oh, that's the broad, that's the orange ink version. But it still, it makes you have to think, what ink do I have in that pen? And that's the only reason why it stopped me buying a second pen of this. And also that I don't normally do multiples of pens unless I really, really want to. But I do have some pens that are multiples. Like I have some Arco Browns, some Arco Verdes. I have, I think the Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Ages. I've got a couple on, and then I've got the Visconti St. Basil. I've got a fountain pen and roller set. So I do sometimes do it, but in the general theme of it, I do not. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Blue Ripple, and this is more of a metallic electric blue. It's a silver overlay and then plated in this electric blue with this beautiful white cracked ice. So this would have been a demonstrator if they didn't put the cracked ice effect in there. It is a power vac, and if I unscrew the cap, you'll see it's a double reservoir, which I've locked off at the moment. So it holds around about 2.5 milliliters of ink, and it's got a older 18 karat gold 750 nib there. So it's the original Visconti 18 karat gold nibs. You can post the cap, but that cap is already very heavy and very back weighted, and it's just pulling the pen back. So it's not a pen I would want to post the cap on, but you can do if you want to. It's a medium nib. I love writing with this pen. And this was a pen that I got from Rosmenko in Australia, the Australian Visconti distributor. A friend of mine, I wanted this pen for ages, and a friend then bought one from him and said, look, you really do need to get one of these. And I did give in, and I bought one, and I do like it. I have to say, I like the pen, and I should have bought it earlier, but yeah, I think I waited about a year before buying that pen. And then the next pen I picked up around, I think it was towards the end of the pandemic, was the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. Now this is a scrimshaw pen. So you can see here all of that scrimshaw engraving, and then they fill it in with this like reddish brown ink just to make it stand out more. You've also got Leonardo da Vinci's signature there on the cap. This really is just a beautiful work of art. Comes in a massive box that it's a display box, but I just don't. like most of the Visconti display boxes, I just don't display. It comes with a number 6 size, and this is the newer 18 karat gold in-house nibs. It's a medium nib. You've got the concave section there, which the Homo sapiens are renowned for, and the hook safe lock mechanism. You can post the cap. It won't post very deeply, but it does post securely. But it's very back weighted because of all of this metal work on the clip and on the cap there. So I just, it's not something I normally do. And especially if a pen is back weighted like that when you post the cap, it's definitely not something I would then want to do. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Daedalus, and this is a pen that I picked up at the London pen show, and this was in 2020, just as the pandemic was about to start. I remember being at the March London pen show at the old venue in Bloomsbury, and it was a Holiday Inn that we were in, and we were in the bar after the pen show, and all the news was saying that Italy was going into lockdown and that. And Michael from Manuscript Pens now brought a couple of pens off of his table, and he was packing them away and said, "Hey, look, Dave, do you want to review this?" And I did. And the idea was that he wanted it back in a month or two, but then the pandemic hit. So I ended up keeping hold of it for, I think it was a good 7 or 8 months. And I said to him, "Look, I'm going to buy this pen from you." And he gave me a good deal, and I bought it and added it to my collection. So sometimes these things are just meant to be. And this was one of those times. Of course, we didn't know what was going to happen at the start of that pandemic. We thought the world was going to end. So it was like, I'm going to buy this pen because the world is going to end and we're not going to get to 2022. Well, of course we did. We're now in 2024. So, but yeah, it is a Daedalus pen, and you can see Daedalus there. You can see the Minotaur's head. You can see the mazes all around this pen. It's a silver overlay. It's a beautiful pen. A resin with a blue translucent resin with silver dust impregnated into it. It's a power rack. It's a double reservoir. A number 6 size, 23 cat palladium medium nib. Really, really nice pen. You can post it. It's not going to post deeply though, and it's back weighted as well. So again, I just wouldn't post that cap if I were you. But it's a beautiful pen. I love writing with that pen, and I decided I needed to ink up some of my older Viscontis, and these are not my early Viscontis, but I will be getting back again to some of those again. But I do need to start inking up a lot of my older Viscontis and my older pens as well. I've got a lot of celluloid pens, and I just don't write with them because there's always a newer pen coming along that I then want to ink up and write with. So I struggle to write with a lot of the earlier pens, and I know I get offers all the time from people saying, "I'll buy this pen from you if you don't write with it anymore." And I still like the pen. It's not that I dislike it. So yeah, some pens I will sell. I think it was around Fountain Day last year. I sold my Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl to a friend in the US, and it was a pen that I didn't write with, and I didn't overly like the nib on it. It had a little bit of a singing tendency. I'm not really into singing nibs, and I know she wanted it, and she wanted it quite badly, and she'd wanted one for a few years. So I decided to sell it, and I sold it for a very discounted price to what you can buy them for now, and she's now writing with it. So some of the pens I will sell, but some of them I want to keep in my collection. The next pen here is the Visconti Last Templar Jacques de Molay, and I remember like all these pens have a story. This pen, this was over, I think it was a December one year, and I want to think it was it 2018 or 20? 19. I can't remember. But what I do remember is Marco from Novelli in Italy. Novelli Pens and Pipes is a store, family-owned business. And he messaged me and said, look, I want to sell you a pen. And I said, okay, well, I'm not really interested in any of the pens that you've got at the moment. He said, well, what pen do you want? What is your Grail pen? And I said, well, this is a pen I'm looking for, but you can't find these anywhere. So he said, right, challenge accepted. And he went away. And a few weeks later, he said, I found one. Visconti have one in their vault. And I'm like, crap. Because I know this is an expensive pen, or was an expensive pen for me at the time. And but I did get it for a good price. And I thank Marco at Novelli. It's a beautiful work of art. It is a chainmail pen. Beautiful. The only thing that I did dislike about the pen before buying it was the feed is a cream coloured feed, and the section. You have to be careful that the feeds will stain in, and I've got a grey ink in here, but if you put a blue ink, it's going to stain blue. This is stained a little bit more of a dull grey. The sections also, you've got to be a bit careful because the cream or white sections will stain as well. You can't post the cap on this. It's a long pen, does have a big step down because the cap is flush, but the section is quite wide, so that doesn't bother me. It's got a number 6 size nib. It's a medium 23 cap palladium nib there. Beautiful pen. Very, very glad I added this to my collection. Came in a nice box, pen box, display box. Came with a sword and a signet ring. I say a sword, it was more of a letter opener. It was insane. So very glad Marco rose to the challenge and was able to to get that for me. I kind of kicked myself when he came back and said that he could get one because I knew what the price was. But glad, nevertheless, that it is in my collection. The next pen inked up is the Onoto, and this is the Queen's Jubilee. Now, I do have one of these in solid sterling silver. This is the resin version, but with a sterling silver overlay to that cap there that you can see. Really beautiful pen. I think it's quite classy looking, but it is a resin pen, so the body is quite light compared to the cap. I want to say the cap is like 2 or 3 times the weight of the body. It is designed up really the Magna Classic size of pen. It's got a number 7 size nib. I got this in a medium. It is a cartridge converter that I've got in there at the moment. I'm just trying to think. I think it came with a plunger. You can post the cap. It does spin though. It doesn't actually sit and grip the pen on this one. But I like it. I like the pen. I really wanted the full sterling silver version of the pen. But then after buying that, I was content with it. But this one always kept calling for me. And I just decided, you know what? I think I would like both pens in my collection. And that's what I did. So I bought that one as well. And then another Onoto that I saw secondhand at Izod's. I messaged Roy and said, yeah, I'd like to take this pen. It's the Great Roof, and it's called the Metallic Edition. So it's a British Museum pen, although they call it the Great Roof. It was a custom-made pen for somebody. Doesn't have the British Museum on the cap band, which is a shame, honestly, but I don't mind it so much. I think I would have preferred British Museum there. But I do like that this is filled with gold, whereas the original British Museum Great Roof was not, and it was just black. So it was difficult to see the pattern. So I really like that whoever had this pen made under commission or custom pen, got it with the gold filling. It's got a number 7 size Onoto, medium nib there. It's a cartridge converter. You can post the cap as well. And it's a lovely pen. Lots of threads there. So I have that one inked up with me as well. And then the last pen is an Onoto Magna Classic, and it's the David Copperfield. Another writer's edition. And I'm glad that Onoto are doing writer's edition pens, because I think it's important to have writer's editions. So it's not just Mont Blanc that do these. But this is a beautiful pen. I love this grey, pearl grey. And if I unscrew the cap there, you'll see again another number 7 size 18 karat gold Onoto medium nib. It is a cartridge converter pen. You can post the cap as well. I just like these Onotos. They are really, really nice pens. I like the nibs. They write very wet. They are Bock nibs, Bock made nibs. I just like how they write. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. So there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up this week is the Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber Pearl. So we'll do a writing, well, we'll do an ink swatch first, and then we'll do a writing sample. So this is a nice writing nib. So this is the Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber Pearl, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Herbin Amber de Bermanie, which is a nice autumny coloured ink. Always reminds me of sort of the autumn time, sort of hot chocolate, things like that. The next pen inked up is the Benu Talisman, and this is the Tiger's Eye. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I do need to ink that up, as I mentioned earlier, with a different ink. But at the moment I've got this orange ink. So it's a Benu Talisman. And it's the Tiger's Eye. And it's a broad, and it's a steel Schmidt nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Blaze Orange, which is a very bright, punchy orange ink. An ink that I do like a lot. The next pen inked up is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this also has an orange ink. I don't think I've put these side by side. So this is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea. Again, in a broad, in a steel Schmidt nib. And the ink in here is Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea. And I am a little bit in awe, because maybe once these inks have dried, they're going to dry a little bit differently. But I'd almost argue this is the identical ink. Like the Diamine Blaze Orange and Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea, it's almost identical. That is very bizarre. The next pen inked up is the Visconti, and this is the Blue Ripple. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a nice pen for sure. So this is the Visconti Blue Ripple, and it's a, I want to say it's a medium 18 karat gold nib. It's the older 18 karat gold from Visconti, and then the ink in here is Diamine China Blue, which I always think should be lighter, but it's more of a darker blue ink. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is really, I want to say, a Western fine nib, although it is stamped with medium. But I love how this nib writes. It's the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina, and it's a medium, strangely enough, and it is the newer 18 karat gold nibs, in-house nibs from Visconti, and then the ink in here is Diamine Ochre. And as much as I'd like that to actually be a slightly wider nib in terms of a medium nib, which is what it says on the nib, I love how that nib writes, as it writes more towards a fine nib. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Daedalus. So we'll also do an ink swatch here. And I think in past years I've had this inked up with a much darker ink. And I think I've had it inked up with, I want to say Diamine Majestic Blue, possibly. It might have been Imperial Blue, possibly. I think it was more Majestic Blue. And so this is the Visconti Daedalus, and it's a medium, and just double checking, it is a 23 karat palladium nib. I was just thinking it might have been an 18 karat gold, but no, it was the Blue Ripple that had that nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican Edelstein Topaz, which is a very nice sort of light cerulean blue ink. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Last Templar Jacques de Molay. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a medium nib, and I love how this nib writes. Really beautiful. So this is the Visconti. I'm going to abbreviate it to Jacques de Molay. And it's a medium, and it's the older 23 karat palladium nibs. And the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey, which really is my favourite grey ink, although Diamine Graphite, KWZ Lux, and KWZ Old Smoke are also becoming more favourites for me as well. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Platinum Jubilee Overlay. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a really dark grey ink, almost black. And so this is the Onoto Platinum Jubilee. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Graphite, which is almost a black ink. The next pen inked up is the Onoto, and this is the Magna Classic Great Roof Metallic Edition. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I have this inked up, and I've just realised actually I've got some ink on the section on this pen. So I'm just going to wipe that off a bit. So this is a light ink that I've got in here. But it does dry a little bit darker. So this is the Onoto, and it's the Great Roof metallic edition, and I've got a medium, and I've got it with an 18 karat gold nib. This is the original nib I had in my jade that somebody had ground down to a crisp metallic. So this one came with a steel nib that I bought second hand. So I've swapped the nibs over. I still might actually just go and buy a replacement nib for this one in an 18 karat gold. So this is, the ink in here is Robert Oster, and it's Aussie Gold, which is a nice gold, metallic gold ink, and I think it actually goes nicely with that pen. And then the last pen inked up is the Onoto David Copperfield. So this is a pen I bought just before Christmas last year. So we'll do an ink swatch. I bought it from Izod's, and I saw it going for a good price with an 18 karat gold nib, and I was like, yeah, I just need to buy that. So this is the Onoto, and it's the David Copperfield, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is KWZ Old Smoke, which is a London or UK pen shows exclusive ink. But it's a bit of a lighter grey. It's not too light, but it's also not too dark. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Onoto Magna Classic in the Chased Amber Pearl in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Herbert Amber de Bermony. We have a Benu Talisman in the Tiger's Eye in a broad steel nib, and that's inked up with Diamond Blaze Orange. We have a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea in a broad steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry Earl Grey Tea. We have a Visconti Blue Ripple in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond China Blue. We have a Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Ochre. We have a Visconti Daedalus in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Visconti Last Templar Jacques de Molay in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Diamond Earl Grey. We have an Onoto Platinum Jubilee in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamond Graphite. We have an Onoto Great Roof Metallic Edition in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Robert Oster Aussie Gold. And then we have an Onoto David Copperfield in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Old Smoke. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.